DayZ zombies. They are infected, living humans overtaken by a fast-spreading virus that drives them into a constant, violent frenzy. They still breathe, bleed, and move with terrifying speed, and they can sprint, climb, and smash through doors instead of stumbling like the classic shamblers. Their skin is blotchy, their eyes are dilated, and they make a harsh growling sound that intensifies when they spot prey. No one really knows where the infection came from, and radio chatter only hints that the outbreak wiped out governments before a cure could even be considered. And the infected hunt mainly by sight and sound. A single gunshot can echo across an entire town and draw a swarm. Footsteps on metal or even a flashlight beam can grab their attention, and if they lose visual contact, they'll search the last known spot for about 30 seconds before wandering off. But newer AI updates have made them smarter. They now flank buildings, follow players up staircases, and chase without tiring. And if you don't hide or close the door, they'll keep coming, making every noise you make a potential death sentence. With newer updates, DayZ has introduced more variety to the infected. Civilian towns spawn regular, hoodie-wearing types, while police stations are home to riot gear Zeds, with helmets that deflect weak melee attacks. And military areas are even deadlier, spawning soldiers and biohazard units who take more damage before going down. And new heavy infected now roam toxic gas zones, and these monsters wear reinforced NPC suits and can soak up headshots unless you bring explosives. And there are also crawlers, which hide in debris and low grass, biting at your legs from below your line of sight. And because the infected are live, how you fight them matters. A suppressed 22 to the head is quiet but may bounce off a helmet, and a stealthy melee kill with a knife conserves ammo but drains stamina. Shoot one infected in a loud area and you might aggro a dozen more. And unlike many games, DayZ doesn't despawn enemies. You can lead a group into the woods and hours later, they'll still be there, forcing you to deal with the consequences of every loud decision. So DayZ's infected aren't supernatural. They are terrifying because they're biologically possible. They are fast because they are alive, and they are lethal not because of some grand scripted event, but because your smallest mistake can create your own personal apocalypse. Blackwing virus zombies. In the Star Wars universe, the Blackwing virus, also known as Project 171A or the Sickness, was born in secret Imperial labs as part of a twisted Sith experiment to conquer death. Combining Sith alchemy, cloning science, and a rare flower called the Murakami Black Orchid, Imperial scientists tried to reanimate the tissue, and what they created instead was a horrifying pathogen that kills within minutes, then reanimates the corpse into a mindless, flesh-hungry predator. The virus first escapes in a lab accident aboard the prison barge Purge, and centuries earlier at a Sith Academy in Red Harvest, showing its terrifying power across multiple eras. Blackwing goes straight for the nervous system, shutting down higher brain functions while using Sith-altered proteins to reactivate muscles. The result? Undead stormtroopers, Wookiees, even cybernetically enhanced creatures like Rancors, all still moving despite being clinically dead. Corpses continue to rot, limbs crawl for hours, and even headshots might not be enough unless the brainstem is destroyed. And to make things worse, the virus lingers in the air. Rotting bodies can release particles that infect anyone nearby, and in sealed ships or bunkers, one death can trigger a chain reaction, with each new corpse rising as another killer. Former stormtroopers still pull triggers, operate controls, and move in terrifying groups. They hunt by sound and smell, overwhelming doors and piling up bodies to get through even the strongest defenses. And that's exactly how the Purge infects a nearby Star Destroyer. A simple distress call leads to a complete takeover. The virus spreads fast, has no known cure, and infects all species, meaning a single infected body reaching a planet can doom an entire population. And the only reliable response is complete destruction of the ship, base, or planet, and erasing any trace of the project to prevent future outbreaks. And though officially erased from Imperial records, bits of the Blackwing project still resurface. Encrypted files, Black Orchid samples, and viral containers show up in deep vaults and shady auctions. Dead Rail zombies. In Dead Rails, the American frontier of 1899 has been transformed into a grim, steam-powered apocalypse. A mysterious zombie virus has swept across the continent, forcing the last survivors to live, trade, and fight from armored trains that travel between infected towns and crumbling outposts. Every corpse touched by the plague rises again as a twisted version of the living, and their bodies are still technically alive, just driven mad by the virus. And that's why they can sprint, climb onto rail cars, and hunt by sound and lantern light like wild animals. Most of the infected are gaunt settlers and miners who swarm in loose packs, relying on numbers to overwhelm. But as the plague spreads, it mutates. Dead soldiers and sheriffs still remember how to aim and fire, and in Tesla's storm-blasted lab, gray scientist zombies swarm narrow staircases in pitch darkness, their attacks made worse by flickering lightning and close quarters panic. fire a weapon near an old wrench, and the infected will come running from all directions. Stay too long in a town and they'll pour out of alleys and shop fronts in overwhelming numbers. And the train isn't just a ride, it's your moving lifeline. It serves as your base, your safe zone, and your only way to escape. But the infected don't care. They'll climb ladders, storm boarding ramps, and even eat your horses if you leave them unguarded. Red Dead Redemption Undead Nightmare. Here, the American frontier is plunged into chaos by a supernatural curse that fuses biblical doom with Aztec myth. One night, the dead rise without warning, and John Marston returns home to find his wife and son turned into the infected. Determined to save them, he sets off across New Austin and Nuevo Paraiso to uncover the source of the plague. Clues lead to an ancient Aztec mask, stolen from a tomb, and its removal tears open a spiritual wound, unleashing a flood of undead and warping nature itself. Corpses crawl from graveyards at night, skies darken without warning, and animals scream with distorted, human-like voices. The basic zombies, slow and rotten, soak up bullets, but only a clean headshot puts them down for good. As the infection spreads, deadlier types emerge. Vultures race on all fours and leap over fences, bruisers charge like battering rams, and retchers explode with toxic bile that burns through clothes and skin. Killing these special infected earns disgusting parts: tongues, eyeballs, bile, which can be loaded into a custom blunderbuss, a DIY weapon that blasts everything in close range to pieces. Even wildlife isn't spared. Zombie bears keep charging through gunfire, pumas rise back up. After that, clearing out town doesn't guarantee peace for long. If players forget to light campfires or use holy water, the dead return after sundown and slowly overrun the settlement again. Surviving becomes a constant cycle of riding, fighting, and defending, where bullets are precious and trust is rare. In the end, Marston finds the cursed mask and returns it to its resting place, lifting the curse, sort of. His family is restored, and the land is still haunted by whispers of a cowboy who fought off the apocalypse with a shotgun full of zombie guts and rode a pale horse into blood-red sunrises. High School of the Dead Zombies. The outbreak strikes without warning and without a name. No one knows where it began, and no one dares to define it. Survivors simply refer to the infected as them. What they do know is that the infection spreads through blood or saliva. Just one bite, scratch, or drop of fluid is enough. Victims suffer a violent fever and seizure before dying and reanimating in under a minute. Once turned, their eyes go pale, their skin grays, but their hearts keep pumping just enough to fuel muscle movement. They don't feel pain, don't bleed out, and don't stop, not even when bones are shattered or limbs hang loose. The series adds a unique twist to zombie behavior. These undead are nearly blind, reacting slowly to light or motion, but their hearing is hypersensitive. A dropped phone, a slammed door, even a quiet gasp in the wrong moment can draw dozens from nearby streets. And survivors learn to use this, setting off car alarms or fireworks to lure the horde away. But once they get close, sound isn't the only danger, because smell kicks in at close range, locking the zombie's attention even if the target goes silent. Individually, a zombie is slow and clumsy, but the danger comes from mass and environment. Stairwells, hallways, and bridges become death traps, and the only way to stop one is to destroy the brain or sever the spine, which mean getting close, and every close encounter risks getting infected by splatter or blood spray. Most weapons are improvised, and every fight feels like a gamble. Society crumbles within hours, TV broadcasts go dead, military barricades collapse under friendly fire, and adult leadership breaks into cults or trauma-frozen ruins. Amid the chaos, the focus narrows to a handful of high schoolers and a nurse, scavenging what they can and trying to survive. State of Decay zombies. The undead, known as Zeds, are the result of a fast-acting, prion-like infection. The virus kills its host within hours, but then reanimates the body just enough to keep it mobile and violent. A freshly turned Zed still looks human, bloodied, pale, and twitching, but is alive enough to sprint, climb fences, and bash doors down with relentless force. They are driven by primal aggression, reacting to loud sounds like gunfire or engines from blocks away. And since they never tire, a missed shot or mistimed swing often becomes a deadly chase, only ending when one side drops from exhaustion or loses their head. And the infection doesn't stop at basic zombies. Over time, the virus mutates into deadlier forms called freaks. These aren't lab-made, they are nature's worst accidents. Screamers have torn vocal cords that unleash a piercing wail, stunning nearby survivors, and summoning Zeds en masse. Bloaters are swollen with toxic gas and explode on contact, choking anyone nearby. Ferals move like predators, leaping and dodging before ripping throats open with inhuman speed. And then there are juggernauts, towering beasts that can flip cars and soak entire magazines of bullets without slowing down. And some freaks even wear body armor from the day they died, deflecting melee hits and small rounds. Plague versions of these monsters add another threat. One touch and your infection meter starts ticking. That infection, called the blood plague, defines state of decay too. Plague zombies have glowing red eyes and oozing sores, and every attack pushes you closer to death and reanimation. If a survivor isn't cured in time, they turn and must be put down before they turn on their friends, and these Zeds are tied to plague hearts, massive infected masses hidden in abandoned buildings. Each heart psychically controls local zombies, and when attacked, it triggers a surge of aggression from everything nearby, plague freaks included. Killing a heart ends that influence, but also releases a cloud of toxic gas, strong enough to finish you off if you're not wearing a mask. A silenced 22 can pick off enemies without drawing attention, and a shotgun clears a room fast, but might drag the whole town to your doorstep. To survive, your community must expand, adapt, and fight smarter. Plague zones need to be cleared, freaks evolve, resources run dry, and the game doesn't scale the threat to your survivors. You have to grow tougher, craft better gear, and plan smarter. Kabaneri of the Iron Fortress Zombies. Humanity's downfall begins with a mysterious virus that spreads across the island nation of Hinomoto, turning the infected into Kabane, ferocious, undead with glowing hearts, encased in iron-hard armor. Once the virus reaches the heart, the cardiovascular system grows a metal-like cage around the organ, keeping the body moving even when bones break or muscles tear. These Kabane don't feel pain, don't bleed out, and can sprint, leap, and tear through samurai armor with ease. Standard weapons are nearly useless. The only reliable kill is a perfect shot or stab through a small opening in the chest, or full decapitation, both of which are almost impossible when the Kabane are charging headfirst at you. With steam technology ruling this industrial era world, survivors escape to fortified cities connected by armored trains known as Highschool. To fight back, they develop steam-powered piercing guns that fire tungsten rounds using superheated gas, one of the few ways to punch through a Kabane's heart cage. But even these defenses are fragile. Every time a train stops for fuel or water, there's a risk. One breach at a station gate can spark chaos, and with the virus turning people in mere seconds, entire crowds can become shrieking hordes before a single alarm finishes sounding. Out of this crisis rise the Kabaneri, hybrids like Ikoma and Mume, who infect themselves on purpose and then fight the virus off with tourniquets and bloodletting. Kabaneri have superhuman speed and strength, but also carry a hunger for blood that constantly threatens to consume them. As the series goes on, the stakes climb higher. Kabane begin to fuse together into monstrous hive creatures called Black Smoke, massive writhing bodies with heart cages so dense they are almost indestructible. With every new mutation, humanity is forced to push harder, faster trains, hotter steam, deadlier weapons, and ever more desperate choices. Z Nation Zombies. The apocalypse is triggered by the ZN1 virus, a fast-acting blood-borne pathogen that kills within minutes and then jumpstarts the brainstem, leaving behind just enough brain function to create a predator. Newly turned zombies can sprint, climb, and hunt by scent and motion, and as they decay, they slow down into shamblers, but they never tire, because the part of the brain that controls exhaustion is gone. Noise, movement, and even uncovered corpses draw in more and more of the Z, until entire regions are swallowed by massive, roaming hordes called tsunamis. At the center of this chaos is Alvin Murphy, the only survivor of an experimental vaccine. He becomes something in between, part human, part zombie, with the ability to sense and even control nearby Z's. And that power makes him the key to a cure, and a potential threat to all of humanity if it ever gets out of hand. ZN1 doesn't stay static. Exposure to radiation, chemicals, or plant DNA mutates it, spawning regional zombie variants. Near the Cheyenne Blast Zone, you get blasters, baked, leathery corpses that explode when shot. At a nuclear reactor in Edgemont, the team encounters glowing radioactive Z's, whose bites infect and poison in one go. And in a ruined greenhouse, they face Phythos, zombies fused with genetically modified plants that bleed, chlorophyll, and strangle people with vines. As the virus evolves, so does its horror. After the events in Zona, we meet Mad Z's, zombies that move twice as fast, shrug off bullets, and fight with savage rage. Later, chemical fallout creates talkers, undead who retain speech, memories, and emotion, but need to eat brain-based biscuits to stay sane. So suddenly, killing a zombie isn't just survival, it might be murder. And the virus doesn't just affect humans. Zombie bears and wolves show up, and Murphy's own immunity is infectious. Anyone he bites becomes a blend, gaining temporary resistance and turning blue-skinned, fanatically loyal, and dangerously cult-like. Blends worship Murphy like a messiah and see uninfected survivors as food. So with shifting alliances, evolving mutations, and Murphy's growing influence, every encounter is a gamble. Zombies can speak, friends can become monsters, and the virus itself learns as it spreads.